Members of the head table, President and CEO of the VM Group, Courtney Campbell, CEO of VMIL, Resworth Burchinson, VMIL Winter, Manager of Group Finance, VMIL Directors, VM Group Executives, clients, investors, regulators, members of the media, VM Group staff, and other persons joining us via Zoom. Good afternoon. I also want to especially acknowledge our invited guests present here with us, Mr. Adam Harris, Assistant Vice President, Strategic Investments of the VM Group, and Mr. Brian Fraser, Deputy CEO of VM Investments Limited. I take this opportunity to welcome you all to another in a series of investor briefings spearheaded by VM Investments Limited. I am Nicole Adamson, Manager for Investor Relations, Research and Business Planning. Through this investor briefing and fora like these, we seek to provide a platform for the engagement of current and prospective investors, including viewers on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter, giving information not only on the achievements over the period just past, but also insights for how we intend to drive growth and expand the avenues to transform lives. I wish to especially acknowledge the newest member of our leadership team, Brian Fraser, who joined on September 1st as Deputy CEO of VM Investments and VM Wealth Management. His experience in the financial services industry spans over 20 years, working in areas such as trading, asset management, risk management, compliance, and others. We look forward to the wealth of knowledge he will bring to strengthening the strategic business plan and building organizational capacity to navigate the financial space. At VMIL, and by extension VM Wealth Management, our aim is to purposefully harness the power of capital to create and grow wealth and help our investors thrive. We understand that proper knowledge is important in helping our customers to make informed decisions about their portfolio and to turn opportunities into wins. So our product and service offering is backed by the provision of expert financial information and guidance to help our clients and investors build and maintain wealth. During the April to June 2022 period, the global financial climate remained uncertain, but through the resilience of our team and the performance of our long-standing products, our profits continued to record an increase. I will allow our main presenters to give you the specific details as it relates to our initiatives and other achievements over the period, as well as the game plan for moving forward. While the current economic climate stands in rebuilding mode, there are still ways to navigate the market for personal or business gain. On the platform, you will see our Group CEO, Mr. Courtney Campbell, and our presenters, VMIL VM Wealth Management CEO, Mr. Resworth Burchinson, who will be presenting our business highlights and overview of our strategic thrust, and VMIL Winter, Manager of Group Finance, who will guide us through the financial performance. I hope the information presented today will inspire confidence in everyone's minds so that our investors and clients will continue to trust the VM team to be their partners in wealth creation. And those who are yet to do business with us will be so moved to start their journey to financial well-being. We are here for you as we aim to empower individuals and transform lives. With that, I will hand over to our CEO, Rez.
Thanks very much, Nicole. Welcome to all stakeholders joining us this afternoon. I'm very pleased that we're having our second investor briefing. At VMIL, we're very serious about stakeholder engagement. So I just want to express my appreciation to those who have taken time from their busy schedule to join us this afternoon. Let me also publicly recognize Mr. Brian Fraser, the Deputy CEO of VM Investments Limited. I think Brian will certainly make an impact at VMIL, at VM Wealth, and the wider VM Group. Welcome, Brian. So as Nicole said before, this afternoon we're going to talk about VMIL, some key accomplishments, and we're also going to talk about some of the strategies that we're employing for this year and for future years. With that said, let's get into the presentation. So the flow is on the screen. We're going to talk about an overview of VM Investments Limited, the turbulent economic challenges that we currently face. And Nicole made some reference to it. Some key performance indicators that we're tracking in VM Investments, some business wins. VMIL will take all the hard questions on the financial performance. Then I'll close on the outlook for the organization, and thereafter we'll open for some question and answers. So I think we're all aware that VM Investments is the investment arm of the VM Group, listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I like to tell my team members that we're listed, regulated, rated in a very, very competitive sector. And with that said, it simply means that there's a level of urgency that we need to be operating within as compared to other organizations. One thing I want to point out, I want to highlight, is that within VM Investments Limited, the major breadwinner for VM Investments Limited is VM Wealth Management. Oftentimes, the wider investing public is not making that connection. So, just to repeat, there's VM Investments Limited, listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, but right below that, 100% owned by VM Investments Limited, is VM Wealth Management. That's where we do a lot of exciting things: bond trading, equity trading, asset management, capital markets, and alternative investment strategies. Very proud to repeat that just this week, as late as last week, our rating was reaffirmed by Caricris. I'm very proud of that accomplishment, especially in the environment in which we're operating. We are reaffirmed investment grade with a positive outlook for the organization. That's a major win for the business. And with that said, I really want to salute the support team, the directors, the group executives, and the hard-working team members at VM Investments Limited. That was certainly not an easy feat. The group mission, just want to highlight a number of things, is that we're all about empowering our clients to create wealth. That's our reason for being. But that is led by strong talent. Can we reiterate that this business is a talent business? And so, a lot of the accomplishments, all the accomplishments certainly, that would have experienced in 2022 and in previous years, certainly a lot of salutations to the hard-working team members in the group. Last year when we met, I would have spoken about the vision of success, some of the things that certainly want to position ourselves going forward, a place to work for high performers. And you'll see that as I go through the presentation, innovative products, digital solutions. So a lot of these things I will highlight, and you see that those things coming to the fore in the presentation, because we're very keen on ensuring that this vision that we've articulated with a goal of 2028, that vision is realized. So I spoke about this before, right under VM Investments Limited, wholly owned subsidiary VM Wealth Management. Just want to also highlight that we also own we have a 30% shareholding in Caroland. That's our fintech platform in Barbados, in Jamaica, and recently launched in Trinidad and Tobago. We are in the throes of finalizing the acquisition of Republic Funds. Would have indicated to the market that we signed an agreement some time ago. That will give us a platform to the Southern Caribbean. Very exciting. And also, this year, we acquired a stake in Home Choice, one of our first PE transactions, private equity transactions, and we're certainly very pleased about some of the opportunities that we're seeing in the PE space, and I'll certainly articulate on same further in the presentation. So let's talk quickly about the econ environment. Coming out of COVID, we do appreciate the econ challenges with COVID. The the reduction in our economic performance. And coming out, we're very optimistic. And then the evil of inflation came to the fore. And with that, certainly a lot of measures by the regulatory authorities to address the rise in inflation. Some of the measures certainly have impacted our business, impacting the broader economic landscape, both locally and overseas. Falling bond prices, pressures in terms of sometimes liquidity in the marketplace. But when you look at our performance for the first 6 months, certainly would have navigated that challenge very well. And we're looking forward to the remainder of the year with a lot of optimism in the marketplace. Currency stability, we're seeing that coming forth in 2022. That's very positive. And of course, the challenge that we face in 2022 as compared to other years isn't a balance of payments problem. I mean, many years before, lots of these challenges would flow through to a BOP problem, which would have impacted the foreign currency rate or the FX rate. Fortunately, that's not the challenge that we're seeing in 2022. So what are some of the key highlights for the business in 2022? Certainly, a 47% growth in revenues, very positive. Net profit of close to $250 million, very positive. Strong return on equity in the business. 2 measures that we use to track other areas of the business performance, team engagement. HREI stands for HR Engagement Index. We're at 74%, certainly above world standards. Certainly above world standards. So for VMIL in Jamaica to have team engagement scores above global benchmarks, above what obtains for Latin America and the Caribbean, that's very positive for our business. And of course, also tracking the feedback from customers. What are our customers saying about our business? And we're seeing an improvement in our Net Promoter Score. For those of us who have an appreciation of what NPS means, it simply means to what extent our customers are referring us. We're not within global best practice at the moment, but rest assured that a lot of the initiatives that I will speak to and some of the initiatives that we're executing on is towards ensuring that our customers will become raving fans for VM Investments Limited. Some key business wins for 2022. I think we're all aware of the historic listing of Dollar, smashed all records at the Jamaica Stock Exchange in terms of number of new shareholders, percentage oversubscribed, etc., etc., etc. That was done by the expert team at VM Wealth Management Limited. Alternative investment is a very exciting opportunity, not only for VM Investments Limited, but certainly solving the issue of access to capital in Jamaica. So we're very proud that in conjunction with Actos, our London partners, supported by the World Bank and DBJ, that will launch our first PE fund. That fund is currently funded at 50 million US, 10 million was provided by VM Investments Limited, indicating the support and confidence that we have in that sector. And over the medium term, I'll certainly provide a lot more update in terms of the performance of that fund. But certainly a win for VM Investments Limited and a win for Jamaica. We also executed on 2 other transactions in the capital market space. One was the additional public offering for Kingston Properties. They raised 1.5 billion Jamaican dollars. And then the reverse takeover for SSL VC. I mean, I liken that to a SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Vehicle. And we're very excited that VMIL was able to release our ingenuity to execute on Jamaica's first SPAC opportunity. Other highlights. So we have the top performing real estate fund bar none. It's been the top performing real estate fund for a number of years. And in that fund, we're always looking for attractive opportunities. Very excited to announce that earlier this year, we closed a $18 million US transaction. That investment, in many respects, is an opportunity for the property fund that will provide hard currency earnings at very attractive yields. So investors in a property fund will continue to earn world-class returns. Our gold maximizer fund, again, top performing, and that's very good because as it have shown under the vision of success, we want to be known as a #1 asset manager. So our property fund is market leading, our gold maximizer is #1, our other portfolios, rest assured that we're working diligently to ensure that all our funds are market leading. In terms of our digitalization efforts, we certainly leverage the Jamaica Stock Exchange J-Trader platform, providing and encouraging investors that you can trade equities, Jamaican equities, anywhere on the globe. So wherever you are, Japan, New York, the UK, and you're seeing the phenomenal performance of the Jamaican stock market and the junior market in particular in 2022, if you want to certainly participate, there's no need to call a local broker. Once you become a client of the organization, you can leverage the J-Trader platform to participate accordingly. Some other highlights with respect to governance, certainly ensure that our governance policy is updated each year, leveraging certainly some of the international best practices. We spoke about the Carolyn launch in Trinidad in conjunction with Massey, very positive for that business. Earlier this year, just a few weeks ago, the VMIL shareholders would have participated in an EGM regarding the scheme of arrangement. That was successful, and where the VM group is moving ahead in that regard. Recent management changes, I already spoke to the onboarding of high talent in Mr. Fraser in VM Investments Limited. And more recently, we're engaged by Money Masters to be lead broker for a transaction to be announced. So certainly, lots of positive in VM Investments. And for the remainder of the year, I think we're going to hasten the pace because we're seeing lots of opportunities in this space. At this point in time, I'm going to hand to Ms. VMIL Winter. VMIL is the manager of finance in the VM group, and she will take you through some of the numbers and the performance of VM Investments Limited for the first 6 months of 2022. VMIL?
Thank you, Reyes. Good afternoon, audience. Operating revenues. Our operating revenue steadily grew from $284 million in Q2 2018 to $692 million in Q2 2022. We also had a significant growth between 2021 and 2022 of $225 million, or 47.88%, which was primarily driven by growth in our fees and commission income and gains on investment activities. Our net PAT also grew significantly from $139 million in 2019 to $242 million in 2022. When compared with Q2 2021, our net profit after tax grew by $67 million, or 38.56%. When we drill down further, we will see that our major revenue contributors are fees and commission income and gains on investment activities. In 2021, they contributed 74% to total operating revenues, while in 2022, their combined contribution was 88%. When we focus on our fees and commission income, we recognize that between 2018 and 2022, our Q2 net fees and commission income grew by 108% from $176 $70 million to $345 million. Between 2021 and 2022, the fees and commission income grew from $138 million, which represents a $216 million or 157% growth year over year. This significant increase is due to our corporate finance and advisory service activities, in which we facilitated the sale of a property, which contributed $157 million to our 2022 revenues. In addition, we had APOs, IPOs, and other capital markets activities. When we focus on our gains on investment activities, we recognize that the gains grew by 597% from $37 million in 2018 to $225 million in 2022. When compared with 2021, the gains on investment activities increased by 21%, moving from $211 million to $255 million in 2022. 51% of our operating revenues for Q2 was staff costs, and we can see that 49% related to other operating expenses. The increases in our operating expenses were driven by investments in our staff, software maintenance and IT expenses, business development activities, and marketing and promotions. As such, our staff costs increased from $74 million in 2018 to $204 million in 2022, which represents an increase of $129 million. When compared with the prior year, our staff costs increased by $45 million, or 29%. Our other operating expenses also increased from $66 million in 2018 to $340 million in 2022, which is an increase of $274 million. And when compared with prior year, these expenses increased by $131 million, or 63%. We can also see that our return on equity continues to grow over the years, moving from 2.81% in 2018 to 16.75% in 2021 and to 27.94% in 2022. Our ROE growth is due to the factors impacting our profitability that we described earlier. When we look at our capital management, we continue to have a strong capital base with a capital to total assets ratio of 11.12% as at June 2022. Successful capital management requires a close and careful attention to the company's capital and asset bases. And our approach to managing capital includes the following: monthly review of our capital base and capital adequacy ratios, ensuring that they are in line with the regulatory requirements. We also conduct sensitivity analyses using various scenarios and assess their impact on our capital and our capital ratios. And we also then implement strategies to ensure that we do not fall below the benchmarks or where we see that there may be a significant impact on our capital. Our balance sheet has grown by 54.11% since 2018 and 1.51% when compared with prior year. Major year-over-year movements are a reduction in investment and resale agreements of $3.9 billion, and that's mainly because of market conditions. An increase in our loan portfolio of $2.9 billion as we continue our thrust to expand our loan portfolio and our loan business. A decrease in our deferred tax asset of $865 million due to fair value losses on investment securities. Increase in our property, plant, and equipment of $715 million as a result of a property purchase. Increase in our borrowings of $4 billion, which is primarily used to fund the issue of our loans. reduction in repo liabilities, and a reduction in our investment revaluation reserve of $1.3 billion due to a fall in security prices as a result of market conditions. Our return on assets stood at 0.83% at June 2022, up from 0.61% in June 2021. We can see that our earnings per share continues to grow over the years, moving from 1 cent in 2018 to 12 cents in 2021 and 16 cents in 2022. The movement in EPS is also due to the factors impacting our profitability. Despite the challenges in the market, which negatively impacted a number of our balance sheet line items, overall, we've had a strong Q2 22 performance led by earnings from fees and commission income. I now hand over to Rez, who will take us through our strategic outlook.
Thanks, Vanille. I'm quite sure the persons listening will get a much better appreciation about the financial standing of VM Investments Limited for 2022. So if you look through our annual report, we indicated a number of things that we want to focus on for this year, some key imperatives for the business. One was to ensure that the integration of our asset management platform in Barbados is complete. I did say before that we're making lots of headway there. Last hurdle that we need to navigate is certainly the approval of the regulators. We're very excited in terms of where we are in terms of the integration. We won't give a timeline in terms of when it'll be on the ground, but very excited about the opportunity in that jurisdiction. The PE space, as I said before, we're very excited to be in, and certainly the launching of our PE fund gives us a lot more opportunities and will create a lot more value to the organization as those companies go through their life cycle. And I'm seeing opportunities in the capital market space. I'm seeing opportunities even across the VM group for pension services, etc. So we're certainly very excited. In the organization, there are some things that we're doing to lift the level of service delivery. One certainly is provide a lot more digital channels to our clients. A couple years ago, we rolled out our client management portal. That was phase one, and we are midway through the release of a updated version that will give our clients a lot more functionality. We have received the feedback from our clients, as painful sometimes as the feedback is, but we are certainly responding to the feedback provided to our clients. We believe that the client management portal will be a multi-year program to add more self-service channels to our clients, to allow them to better engage with the organization. I did speak to our foray in the property space. We continue to look for opportunities. Vanille, in her remarks earlier, spoke to the fact that the business has bought a few properties. We're seeing some opportunities in the commercial space that we're exploring. And while we can't disclose what exactly are those opportunities, we believe that in later 2022 and in ensuing years, we'll realize value from those investments. Investments in our people is fundamental. This is a talent business. The VM group, and of course VMIL, was certified Great Place to Work, and it's a big win for us. We continue to kind of live by those principles, guided by group HR, also to ensure that our team is properly engaged. The development opportunities are also in place. And of course, ESG was one thing that we said that we want to adopt in 2022, and we were one of the first companies in Jamaica to actually have an ESG report in our annual report that was released a few months ago. So let's talk a bit about our digitalization initiatives. When we dissect our client base, and even when we look at our future customers, digitalization will play a key role in us engaging with those persons. In the business, many years ago, we made major investments in putting in place a core platform called OPIX. Within the next 12 months, there'll be an upgrade to that platform. I already spoke to the client management portal or client management system. That portal is simply to provide a lot more self-service opportunities to our clients. I also want to highlight our IPO platform. That platform was tested on its inauguration by the Dollar IPO. And I must say that when you see the comments on social media about the ease of use of that platform versus other platforms across the industry, certainly I think we are well on our way in terms of providing a lot more opportunities for potential investors in IPOs. I must say that the current platform will always be upgraded. We got lots of feedback from clients from the use of the platform, and certainly for other IPOs and APOs that we'll put to the marketplace, you will see that additional functionality. Our loan management system, we do plan to put in a robust loan management platform. You know, we are all aware that we're major players in the margin loan business. This is where a person with equity investments or other marketable securities want to borrow from those investments to accelerate their returns. A lot of the bonds that would have gotten from the space over the past 3 years were certainly diverted or deployed, to our margin loan product. Very exciting product for the business, and we want to ensure that we have the functionality to be able to scale that platform. The Jamaica Stock Exchange will soon be launching digital asset trading, and we are certainly gonna be and gearing up to be one of the first brokers to offer that exciting product. Having said that though, I know cryptocurrency or trading is always high on the agenda. We will put in place the appropriate framework to ensure that persons don't speculate. So we provide the appropriate training. We ensure persons understand the risk involved, as we do with other investment opportunities. And then in terms of our social media presence, you'd have seen a lot more engagement from VM Group, from VMIL, and other subsidiaries of the VM Group. We certainly want to leverage those channels simply because we have a message that we're spreading, a message that we want to connect with all the Jamaicans, both Jamaicans here and Jamaicans abroad. And while we'll use the traditional media to do that, I think we also want to leverage the new channels to accelerate that message. Some key highlights in terms of ESG. Again, you're seeing VMIL in spaces that you didn't see VMIL before. That's VMIL sponsoring the JARI Awards, at the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association Awards, because we believe that the creative industry is, much like the peace space, is one area of untapped opportunity. One of the things that we were certainly the first players in the market to offer was podcast, very encouraged by my research team that led that initiative. I must admit that the first time they pitched podcast to me, I declined it. I said, I'm not going to listen to podcast, and I was proven wrong. So publicly, perhaps I'm indicating my dinosaurial nature, but certainly the team pressed ahead and reaped success in that regard. So that's positive for the team. And certainly leveraging and paying attention to the issue of climate change. So while we are not a leader in this space, we want to play a part, and certainly team members of VMIL and the VM Group, at any opportunity that we can contribute, want to contribute to the environmental factors or the the challenges that face us in that regard. So with that said, I think that we are very much focused on the vision of success. Revenue diversification is important for us. And we certainly saw the wisdom of our revenue diversification efforts in 2022, where one business was challenged by the turbulent economic environment, but another business certainly came to the fore. We remain committed to that diversification and that growth within Jamaica and outside Jamaica. Our market share in our asset management products, lots of focus is going to be on building out our asset management platform. The asset management platform simply is what I call recurring revenue that is not as challenged based on economic circumstances. And certainly the addition of Mr. Brian Fraser, Deputy CEO, that has lots of experience in the region, not only Jamaica, in terms of asset management. We believe that we'll make some headway there. Spoke about our sales and service framework, our digitalization initiatives. A lot of the money that we're spending on technology is to ensure that our service framework continues to improve. Talent certainly is core for this business. Very challenging space, but we continue to make headway in terms of talent acquisition, but not only acquisition, but retaining the talent and growing that talent. The digitalization is certainly twinned with service, and of course, us being responsible corporate citizens by accelerating our ESG framework. With that said, I will pause. I think we're going to go to question and answers, and I await the first question on the screen. And so the math questions I'll give to VMIL. I will take a few easy questions. Any bowlers, I will certainly give Mr. Campbell at the podium.
We chose to work with VM Investments Limited because Home Choice is now at a stage where we need explosive growth. Team that could bring us to the next level.
We saw a very experienced team in terms of understanding the business and had a clear vision about the future of their business.
We believe in bringing the taste of home to the overseas market. Not just Jamaicans overseas, but everyone, everywhere.
First question, and it's actually bouncers, not bowlers, so I'm not a cricket fan. First question from social media. Now that VMIL has invested in Home Choice, will VMIL now venture into additional fast-moving consumer goods, private equity investments? So not only will we do FMCG, where what Mr. Dwight Jackson says to me all the while, we are sector agnostic. So where we see value, we are going to deploy resources. Resources don't only mean capital, but we deploy resources where we see that we can add value, and that certainly we see some upside from that investment. So we'll do FMCG, we'll do tech, we'll do tourism, not sector agnostic at all. Thank you very much. Okay, next question from Cynthia Monroe. Says, if you are already with a broker, can you access VM platform from your present broker's platform? So I imagine she's talking about the APO or IPO platform. Our IPO platform does facilitate JCSD accounts from other brokers. So thanks very much for that. And that's a key thing that we like about our platform, that it certainly navigates and takes the JCSD accounts for the entire community. Next question from Sophia on Facebook. She says, what do you attribute to the year-to-year net profit increase of 38.56%? And I'm going to give VMIL that question.
Yes, so as I indicated before, our net profit growth was impacted significantly by our fees and commission income. And we had a major transaction in Q2 2022, which brought in about $124 million thereabouts. So that was a major contributor to our net profit.
Okay, thanks for that, Vanille. I would also want to add to what Vanille said, was that when you read the financial report for VMIL, the quarterly report and the annual report, you realize that there are about 4 business lines. And it's asset management, bond and equity trading, treasury, capital markets. And what we saw in the first half of 2022 was that there was certainly the bond trading department was challenged. We believe that the outlook for the remainder of the year is very positive, but that the capital market space got very, very interesting. And based on some of the transactions that I reported on earlier, you kind of see the results of lots of, business development that we have done over the past 12 to 15 months. Thanks for that question. Next question says from a shareholder, will registered companies in Barbados be able to request capital in the near future from VM? That's a very good question, very good question. I would say yes, subject to the regulatory environment. So as we are all aware, that there are some restrictions that are imposed by the Bank of Jamaica in terms of raising capital. There are some exemptions that are also applied. So subject to the requirements of the Central Bank of Jamaica and the Central Bank of Barbados, we do intend to execute on this strategy. Next question, Angie on Facebook. It says, given the improvement in profit, are there any plans to resume dividend payments to shareholders? Angie, I must say that every time I walk around Kingston and I engage with a VMIL shareholder, I get this question all the time. How do I respond? So when we went public some years ago, we did indicate a dividend policy, and we are committed to that dividend policy. I want to make that point very clear. I won't say however, but I have to say however. However, understand that we operate in a regulated space, and simply means that we get license from the FSC to do our business. And with that license, certainly there are some capital requirements. The first half of 2022, in as much as we are highlighting some of the positive outlook, or positive performance in terms of NetPad, we have to be mindful of capital. So whenever there are economic headwinds, as a financial institution, there are 2 things that we have to pay attention to: capital and liquidity. And the board is seized of this issue, and when we believe that would have adequately addressed the capital requirements for the business, and we're at a point where those headwinds are behind us, we'll certainly look at the resumption of dividend payments. But I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm not trying to be as factual as possible, because as a shareholder, I think you'd rather want to see the business thrive with capital than to return capital to shareholders and be compromised. So I thank you for your patience. You are not the only shareholder that has that question, but rest assured that the management and the board, that we're seized of this issue in the business.
If I could just make a few comments on that one. And thank the shareholder for raising that. And just to underscore what Rez has said, when we consider this at the board, we have to bear in mind that the current environment is highly volatile. There's a great deal of uncertainty. We don't know where global inflation will go. We don't know if and when we will enter a recession. We don't know, again, what will happen to interest rates globally and locally. And all of those factors impact on the investment instruments that we hold. And so that if the bond prices were to fall further, then it would impact the capital on the entire industry. And because of that great deal of uncertainty, it makes sense for us to ensure that we have a strong buffer to be resilient in these circumstances. So, I think we wanted to ensure that the business is strong through this short-term period into the medium term, and that's why, I think it's prudent to suspend the dividend payments for the time being. When the conditions allow, certainly we would want to resume that. The main shareholder, VM Group, would want to have dividends as soon as that is prudent. All right, so just to support Reza on that point.
Thank you very much, President. Next question from Tiffany on YouTube. Tiffany says, what is being done to improve the CARICRIS rating for VMIL? Great question, Tiffany. So we are very cognizant of the levers that will change the ratings for VMIL. I think one that we're focused on is capital, and I think the response I gave and Courtney gave is certainly one about capitalization of the business. The other one, though, is certainly about growth in the business and where in the business we see growth and how we're deploying capital to capitalize on those opportunities. So let me give you one. The asset management business is a business where the impact on the balance sheet is very small, very small. Why do I say that? Because the acquisition of Republic Funds in Barbados is an asset management play that doesn't require the large use of capital. That's one. Secondly, the capital markets business, which has been doing some amazing things in 2022, is a business that in most circumstances, unless we're underwriting, doesn't require a large use of capital. So we're trying to grow the business in those areas to protect the capitalization of the organization. And we're seeing growth in asset management. We believe that the Barbados transaction is a platform for the Southern Caribbean. We don't know where it's going to take us, but we're quite excited. And then the capital markets business does provide opportunity. The PE business, again, private equity business, another one under the capital market space. So we're very seized of those levers. The management team, when we meet occasionally, the rating for the organization is certainly a point for discussion. Thank you. Next question from social media. It says, which KPIs are VMIL mostly focused on improving in the short term? Very good. So we track four things. We track four main KPIs in the business. First, team engagement, HREI. We call it HREI, Human Resource Engagement Index. That's one. Even though we have surpassed global best practice, we're still not comfortable. Certainly, we're not leading in the group. So that's certainly an imperative for us to be leading in the group, right? That's one. Next is our Net Promoter Score. We're the average globally, but we're not going to settle for average, of course. That's two. Thirdly, we track assets under management, but primarily off-balance sheet assets, right? So in 2022, and Vonley spoke about it, is that you're not seeing a lot of growth in the balance sheet year over year, because this is not the year to push balance sheet growth because it may impact your capital. What we're focused on is off-balance sheet growth. And we're doing that in many ways. Our unit trust business, our mutual fund business in Barbados, we provide asset management for private individuals, high net worth individuals, but we're also using structures, creative structures, to drive that growth. So for example, when we spoke earlier about that $20 million acquisition of our real estate, that was a unique structure we put in place to provide. It was a structure that met all the requirements for select investors who who want an exposure to real estate, but at the same time, increasing our assets under management. And then last, but certain not least, which applies to capital and applies to dividends, is our net profit performance. So those are the things that certainly consume our minds at the moment. Next question. Okay, so this question. So can we get some questions for Courtney and Vanille? I'm getting all the, I need some water up here. On a roll? Okay. Okay, next question. It says, what real estate opportunities is VMIL taking advantage of? So we are in the commercial space. We're in the commercial space. We're not in the residential space. And we're looking for attractively priced commercial assets that we believe is underpriced based on our model. Our model says, by underpriced for whatever reason, seek to drive or improve the levers of performance, then you get a valuation lift. So that's where we're focused on at the moment. We're seeing some opportunities, but we're trying to be as prudent as possible in terms of how we move forward. Okay, next question from Josimar from The Observer. He has two questions. He says, how is VMI and VMworld navigating the choppy trading waters? Great question, Josimar. And he says, will we see VM taking private equity stakes and listing them on the JSE private market? So let me take the easy question first. That question is private equity space and listing them on the JSE private market. So to the extent, we will consider it. We will consider it, but it's not occupying our minds at the moment. Not at the moment. Our model is primarily around, making those investments. And actually, making investments is actually the easy part. The hard part is finding the appropriate fit, doing the due diligence, negotiating the transaction, and then working with those principals to create value so that we can extract value down the road. And the private market, we're not focused on right now. But rest assured that we're in the PE space in a major way. We have been doing lots of business development in that space. And certainly when you follow our social media platforms, you're seeing a number of key partnerships that we're developing. And it is my view and the view of the team that those partnerships will lead to lots of, we call it VCO, value creating opportunities in the medium term. So the hard question is...
and before you leave that point, not only directly, but also through the JASMIF involvement.
Agreed.
And I think the commitment is demonstrated in the fact that of the 15 million in that fund, VM has committed 10 million US dollars. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks, President. Next question, how is VMIL and Wealth navigating the choppy trading waters? Great question. Well, first of all, I just want to salute the trading team, but I also want to salute the risk team. Very important. I mean, as much as we're here speaking about performance, we haven't really touched on the risk framework. And in 2022, it is that risk framework that we're leveraging to minimize the downside. We have a robust group-wide ERM framework, and we're seeing where there are gaps, and we're making changes. We're being very discreet in how we deploy new capital for trading. Having said that, though, I think the performance of the team for the first half is very commendable. We are optimistic that the second half we'll see a lot more stability. I was very disappointed with the CPI numbers recently in the week, and that's the volatility of the markets that ensued from that. It's a part of trading. But I'm optimistic about the latter part of the year, primarily based on the competence of the team, and also the fact that we have a very good framework that we're always leveraging to protect the downside.
Supposed to work with VM Investments Limited because Home Choice is now at a stage where we need explosive growth. VMIL had that team that could bring us to the next level.
We saw a very experienced team in terms of understanding the business and had a clear vision about the future of their business.
We believe in bringing the taste of home to the overseas market. Not just Jamaicans overseas, but everyone, everywhere.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. So obviously we have to take a break in transmission to promote our products. So that was what happened a while ago. So let the questions continue. They were coming in fast and rapid. So I also have a glass of water. Okay, so calm down, guys, calm down. So the next question is, will the VM Group's scheme of arrangement have a considerable impact on VMIL's performance? And I want my group president to weigh in generally.
Okay, thank you, Rez. I do think that this is likely to positively impact VMIL. If you think about it, the reason we are reorganizing the VM Group is to accomplish a couple of objectives. One, to ensure that the group is compliant with the Banking Services Act. And certainly it will be in VMIL's interest to be part of a compliant group. Secondly, it will provide us with greater flexibility in access to capital. This is a VM Financial Group we're speaking about. So to the extent that VM Financial Group, which would then become the new majority owner of VMIL, to the extent that VM Financial Group has easier access to capital and is able to raise capital from the market, more capital from the market, then as long as VMIL continues to deliver 20% ROE, I would think that VMIL would be a good candidate for deployment of that capital. And so, you know, we would see VMIL as a subsidiary of the group that would benefit from the improved capitalization of the VM Financial Group going forward. So I think that's how I would answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Courtney. Next question, we have Denny from YouTube. Denny's question, what are the plans put in place to handle the rise in interest rates? Great question. I must say, Denny, that the first half of 2022 was all around navigating the rising interest rates and the falling bond prices. And you'd have seen the fact that would have fared reasonably well. Some impact in terms of our net interest income. You'd have seen that from our Q2 release. But also want to salute the Treasury team for navigating the rising interest rates. And again, it speaks to our risk management framework, understanding our gap in risk, ensuring that we have adequate liquidity in place, the structure of our portfolios, both on the Jamaican side, on the Jamaican portfolio, and the US dollar portfolio. And certainly, even though the increase in interest rates would have caused a few transactions to pull back on the capital market side. I think the pipeline for the team has been very robust. The rise in interest rates, did impact our margin loan business to the extent that we had to borrow monies to redeploy. We actually had a raise early this year for close to $1 billion. We were successful, and that's been redeployed. So some challenge, but we're moving on. At this point in time, we'll take a break.
We chose to work with VM Investments Limited because Home Choice is now at a stage where we need explosive growth. VMIL had that team that could bring us to the next level.
We saw a very experienced team in terms of understanding the business and had a clear vision about the future of their business.
We believe in bringing the taste of home to the overseas market. Not just Jamaicans overseas, but everyone, everywhere.
At this point in time, we're going to close the Q&A. Let me just thank all the persons who participated. I think we got lots of very good questions. It shows that persons were very much engaged. Persons actually reading the releases that we're sending out to the Jamaica Stock Exchange or annual report. So I'm very encouraged by the level of engagement. So kudos all around. At this point, I also want to thank Courtney for answering a few of the bouncers. And certainly Ms. VMIL Winter, our manager for Group Finance, who kind of joined me at the head podium. Thank you. At this point in time, I'm going to hand back to Mrs. Adamson, who is a manager for investor relations. Nicole?
Thank you so much, Rez. And to our viewers on social media, we will do our best to get your questions answered, those that were not able to come through before we had to close. So sincere thanks to everyone who joined on all platforms this afternoon and to the VM leadership team for another very well-organized event. This is part of our ongoing commitment to financial education and particularly transparency. Business growth is, of course, important to us. So, too, is the relationship and the engagement we build with you, our shareholders, and our clients. We are also guided by a poignant thought penned by philosopher Henry David Thoreau, who said that wealth is the ability to fully experience life. At VM Investments and VM Wealth Management, we recognize that wealth is as much about the tangible returns, the financial capital, and what it can afford us, as it is about seeking to ensure that it is sustainable. Financial wealth affords us certain luxuries, but can we truly enjoy that wealth if other elements in life are not in alignment? Therefore, intertwined in our need to nurture the bottom line, profits to fuel the dreams of those we serve, we have sought over the years to also focus heavily on fulfilling our corporate social responsibility goals and to give meaningful support to social, environmental, and other projects. This facilitates a climate of inclusion and allows us to embrace transformation in areas which may not be directly related to finance, but which enhance quality of life, complement the financials, and strengthen the national development agenda. I'm happy that today's engagement, as it has been in the past, did not just include a report on growth in the financial realm, but also encompasses our commitment to transforming lives in other areas and fostering a wholesome environment for progress. We will continue to strive to create that balance. Thank you all for participating in this enriching engagement. The VM team is proud of the growth that we have achieved, and we remain committed to being your partners in wealth generation and active transformation of your entire lives. Again, thank you to everyone who joined us today. Until next time, good evening.